Okay, this third video in fractions is subtracting fractions, and we're going to be using a wee bit of mastery here, some parts of it, talking about additive inverse and things like that. Doesn't really matter if you've not done this additive inverse, I'll just mention it as we go along. You can miss it out if you haven't done the mastery version of fractions. Okay, so we've got a half minus a quarter. So again, just like the last video for addition, I'm going to do a wee picture format of it and then a structured method. Again, just to reiterate, we don't always want to do a picture because when fractions get really complicated, then drawing a picture can be really quite difficult. We want a structure that means that we don't have to do a picture. But to begin with, we certainly start off with pictures to give you an idea of what you're actually doing when you are subtracting fractions. So here we go. A half, right? So let's use the bar model, create our bar, and half it down the middle, and shade in the blue bit, which is a half of the bar, half a whole. Okay, and then we're going to subtract a quarter. Again, we need the bar, and remember these bars are meant to be exactly the same length. And this time we have to split it into four. The four tells us, remember, the denominator tells us how many bits it's broken into even bits. Okay, they're all meant to be the same. And I'm going to shade in one of them. Just like for addition, let's draw the bars out again, one on top of each other. So here's my half. And down below, I'm going to do my quarter. Okay. Now I'm going to change colour here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to shade this in red. This is for the mastery part of it. Okay. If you haven't done mastery, additive inverse and like that, you don't have to worry about this wee bit. It will still work out quite the thing. So a half, and this is a quarter. So let's put a quarter in. And remember, we can't simply take these away because to subtract fractions, we need to have the same denominator. They have to be the same size. You can see that this half here is not the same size as the quarter. So we're going to change the half into quarters. So let's split the top bar into 4 sections, 4 equal sections, remember. So put a line down here and a line down here, and just as before, that gives us a half is the same as 2 quarters. Remember, they're equivalent fractions. You'll see that in the introductory to fractions. If you're not sure about equivalent fractions, go back to that video. Okay, the quarter, well, we haven't changed the quarter. So we've now got 2 quarters minus a quarter. Now, I'm going to put an extra line in here, and it's all to do with mastery. Now, mastery says that we don't really subtract fractions, we add the additive inverse. So a quarter, the opposite or the additive inverse of a quarter is minus a quarter. So in mastery we could write it as 2 quarters plus negative a quarter. Now these two things are exactly the same and it gives us the same answer, and I'll just explain how we get the same answer in a wee minute. So just going back to this line here, 2 quarters, take away a quarter, you're left with 1 quarter. Should be quite obvious. Maybe not so obvious here, but in mastery we talk about 0 pairs, and the red filled in one is the additive inverse. It's the the inverse of a quarter. So it's negative a quarter. So this red stands for the additive inverse. So this box here is like negative a quarter. I've got a positive a quarter. That would give me a 0 pair. That would give me 0. That's a quarter minus a quarter, or negative a quarter, or a quarter plus the additive inverse. So a quarter plus negative a quarter, that gives you a 0 pair. So essentially that gives a 0, and we're just left with one of them, and it's 1/4. Now I don't want you to get hung up on this. If you haven't saw the mastery part of it, just go straight from here to here. This bit would just confuse you if you've not done mastery. Okay, so let's do the structured format of it. Well, the structured format, lowest common multiple of 2 and 4 is 4. So we have to change it all into fourths. So looking at the 2 watts give me 4, that's 2 2s, so 2 times 2 gives me 4, so 2 1s are 2. And this is already in terms of quarter. Now, that's us got exactly the same as that, and we can jump straight to here if you haven't done mastery. If you've done mastery, we would write it as 2/4 plus the additive inverse, which is negative a quarter. So if we've got a negative a quarter and a positive quarter, they cancel out to give me 0, and I'm just left with 1/4. Okay, and that's how you do it. So we'll just look at another example. Just rub these out. And I'm just using roughly the same examples that I did for addition, just because it's easy to create the wee pictures. But it works for any fraction. So let's look at the next one. Now, the next one we really want to do is 4/5. That's 4/5 minus a half. So 4/5 minus a half. And we want to see what we get for that. So very similar to the addition, the process is very much the same, only we're subtracting this time. So create my bar for 4/5. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember there, meant all to be the same, so you done 4/5. Minus same length of bar, and we only want half of that. Okay. So by this time you should know the process if you've been watching other videos. Draw out the bar again. Get my 4/5 again. Draw second bar underneath. And this time I've got a half. So let's put the 4/5 in for that one. And because it's subtraction, I'm just going to shoot this in red. Okay, so we have 4/5 and a half. Now, we can't simply subtract them because we don't have the same denominator. So what do 2 and 5 have in common? What's the lowest common multiple? Well, it's going to be 10. If I break it into 10 bits, which I'm going to do it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And do the same for the bottom. Remember, these are all meant to be the same. So that gives me 8/10. Count these up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8/10. And for the half, that changes that into 5/10. So That gives us 8/10 minus 5/10. Now again, for the mastery, for people who have done mastery, we don't subtract in mastery, we add the additive inverse. So again, don't worry about this. If you haven't done it, you can miss out this line. That's 8/10 plus the additive inverse of 5/10 is negative 5/10. Okay, and then as before, negative 5/10 plus 5/10, so you've got 8/10 here, but 5 of these tenths are adding on to negative 5/10, so that's equivalent to here. That gives you an answer of 0. The red and the blue, if you like, cancel out to give you 0. And your final answer is 3/10. So as I say, if you've not done mastery, go from here straight to here. If you've done mastery, I've included a wee bit in here to show you the idea. Okay, so structured format, this is what we're aiming to get to. Okay, in terms of fractions and all that, we want to at some point not forget about the pictures, but not to do it the picture way, because we're going to have more complicated fractions. So we want to get rid of that at some point and just go to structure, so you don't need that. But if you still need it, have a wee picture in your head, or even draw them out. It's okay to draw them out, but we want to try and get away from that at some point. So lowest common multiple of 2 and 5 is 10. So we have to put everything into tenths. So 5 watts give me 10, 5 twos, so 2 fours are 8. 2 into 10 goes 5 times, 5 ones are 5. And if you haven't done mastery, the answer to that is 3/10. If you're doing the mastery way, you would have an extra line in here. That would be plus negative 5/10. Negative 5/10 and 5/10 give you 0, and you're left with 3/10 left over. Okay, that's quite easy to see the mastery side of it when you've got the picture format. It's maybe a good idea for me to put that in red, maybe I don't know if that helps people or whatever. Okay, I'll do one more, and this one is going to be a slightly trickier, because we're going to have a negative fraction at the end. So let's see how we tackle that one. So the last one. So let's see the numbers, just make sure we get the right numbers. Yep. So I've got 2/3 minus 5/6. 2/3 minus 5/6. So just our usual tactic. Let's fill the bar. Third. That gives me 2/3 minus. Remember, the bar is the same length as this one, and we need 6 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they again meant to all be the same. Shade them in. There we go. And draw the bars out again. This time one underneath the other. There we go. And second bar down below. I'm going to have 6 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And because of the mastery setup, I'm going to shade these in red. Okay, so we have 2/3, 5/6. Again, we can't simply subtract them, can't do that, because the denominators are different, you can only subtract if the denominators have the same size, the same number. So 3 and 6, well, if I split the top one into 6, so I'll just do that just now. That's 4, 5, 6, there we go. Then 2/3 changes into 1, 2, 3, 4, 4/6. Again, equivalent fractions. And the 5, 6 we don't have to change. Okay, we don't have to change there. So that gives us 4/6. Take away 5/6. Again, if you're not doing mastery, then the answer to that 4 take away 5 is -1. So 1/6, or -1/6. Okay, for people that are doing mastery, look at the wee picture for this. So that's the same. Remember, in mastery we add the additive inverse of 5/6, which is -5/6. Again, I think I'll put that in red, just so that hopefully it highlights to you. Okay, so see we've got 4 blues up here, that's 4/6. We've got 4 reds, that's the additive inverse, that's really a -6, -6, -6, -6. So 4 of these cancel with 4 up the top to give me 0. That's a 0 pairs. And I'm left with 1 red, and that red, because it's red colour, is a additive inverse, which is -1/6. It's not 1/6, it's -1/6. And that's your answer. Again, over to the structured method, the method we really want to use at the end of the day. Lowest common multiple of 3 and 6 is 6, so we have 6 minus 6. 3 watts give me 6, 3 2s, so 3 times 2 is 6, so 2 2s are 4, that's my equivalent fraction. It's already in 6ths, so I don't have to change that. And again, 4 take away 5 is -1/6. And again, in terms of mastery, 4/6 adding on, just using my red pen this time, -5/6. So -4/6 and 4/6 give me 0, called a 0 pair, and that means I've got a -1/6 left, so that must be my answer. Okay, that's it. Now, even if you've done mastery, then if you find that confusing, then you can just jump straight from here to here. It's what you prefer. There's different ways to do it. Most people, I would imagine, would go from here, and they would know that 4 take away 5 is -1, so they would just jump to here. But if you're not sure about that and you prefer the wee pictures and 0 pairs to cancel out, you can do it that way as well. Okay, so that's subtracting fractions. The next one I'm going to do is multiplying fractions, which is very, very simple. Again, we'll probably give you a wee picture and then a structured method, but the structured method is so easy that I'll probably only do a couple of examples on that, and then after that we'll show you how to divide fractions as well. Okay,